This is Radiant Historia, a cerebral, long-winded JRPG for the Nintendo DS that's an easy game to pick up and play, but one aimed at those who are serious about their JRPGs. This is published by Atlus, who's known for putting out some excellent games like this. Games that certainly don't fit the popular mold, but games that pack hours and hours of storytelling, strategy, and character development. Time travel and a unique battle system are what set this game apart, as you make decisions during the storyline, some of which can end very, very badly. But rather than just losing the game and loading a save game file, you travel back in time to any number of events or locations, or nodes as they call them, and pick up the story again without losing experience or items. This method of time travel may seem gimmicky at first, but after you spend time with the game you realize that's just how the storyline unfolds. Through multiple timelines, you change an event in one timeline and then realize you have to go back to another timeline to witness the events that you previously changed. It's actually very cool and makes what would be a fairly standard plot more interesting than normal. And you don't really have to worry too much about making the wrong decision, because it just backs you up to the point where you start again, but you may figure out new things in your next adventure up to that point. So, without giving away much of the storyline, I just made a bad decision there, which ends the timeline and ends the story right there, sending me back to Historia, which is like purgatory for time travelers or something. Why am I always greeted by these two idiots? I want to show up in a barn in a DeLorean with Van Halen in my cassette player. Come on! Here's a look at the timeline, which is laid out in a very easy to understand fashion, providing descriptions of each of the nodes and how they relate to the storyline, so you can bounce around if you want to. But more than likely, you'll just want to get on with it and continue the story, because Radiant Historia is more about the story than it is about battle and grinding. However, there is an interesting battle system in this game. As you uncover a sizable map and explore locations, you'll encounter enemies and start the battle system in Radiant Historia, which would have been hilarious had the battle system been Radiant Silvergun. But I don't think that game would have worked on the DS as well. This is a turn-based strategy combat system, not a spaceship shooter, where you level your characters up like a traditional JRPG and buy weapons and armor, and learn new magic spells, but it's a grid-based system, and the entire point of it seems to be getting all of your enemies onto one square and then annihilating them with one giant magic spell. Or at least chaining all of your moves together so you're hitting all of them at the same time. It's more interesting during the harder battles. You can also adjust the order of the battle, or the order that your characters will engage the enemy, and even swap positions to most effectively use their skills. So it's slightly different from the norm, and when things get harder it definitely gets more exciting, but note that it'll take at least 8 to 10 hours before you really get into this game. This is not one for those with no patience. It's not a visually exciting game. The environments are kind of boring and all look the same after a while, and even the enemies are fairly disinteresting. It's the storyline and the combat system that make Radiant Historia worth playing. And it is worth playing if you enjoy a good, deep, solid JRPG adventure. I tend to be a fan of the more visually exciting games like Atlus's own Shin Megami Tensei series, but this is such a fun game once you get into it. It just takes a long time to get into it. But once you're there, it doesn't let you down. You'll know the characters, you'll know multiple timelines, and you'll want to see it through. Why is this planet being swallowed by sand? And who are all of these jerks struggling against each other? Why am I in the middle of it? And there might even be enemies within. Watch out! Or just rewind time and try again. You'd think you could just go back even further in time and take them out Terminator style, but it apparently doesn't work like that. Brute force is always the best option, especially when you can rewind time and try again. But then you have to go through a bunch of cutscenes, so you may as well do it right the first time. Radiant Historia.